Nothing more peaceful than a forest in a snowstorm. America's in trouble. And here's the reason why America's in trouble. Because we can't figure out why these children are killing our children. Because, my friend, and I say this with all the respect that I can possibly muster, until you get to a point in your understanding of things violent, that violence and every act of violence and every form of violence, everything that we see these kids do, Klebold, Harris, Cho, Lanza, this recent mall shooting, the shootings that are going to take place coming up, these harvests of violence are a result of seeds of violence that have been planted years ago in the lives of these young people. These young people are the unprotected souls. They were the ones that were bullied. They were the ones that were picked last. They were the ones that were left to fend for themselves at a young age, babysat by video games, where you went from level to level, massacring, killing, destroying people's lives. So you have to understand that any act of violence is a harvest of the violence, and that harvest comes from seeds of violence that have been planted in these young people's lives years ago. Nobody just wakes up and says, today I'm going to go off and kill 20 school children. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. It's a journey to that point. It's a journey to that point. Along the line, along this journey, and along the line, and in the lives of these young people and people that kill, there are seeds that have been planted. Somebody touched them wrong, perhaps abuse, broken homes. I'm absolutely taken back by America and the way that we perceive and the way that we look at these children that are killing, these young killers, the shooters that are shooting up our schools. America, listen to me. And here's the reason why. Here's the main reason why they can do it. And I say this with all due respect to everybody that has suffered a loss and lost a child to a violent crime or an act of violence or a school shooter. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, we just didn't see it coming. And here's the thing, America. Here's the thing. I've been trying to put it out there on the internet for 4 years that the only way you can really ever understand this thing and get into this thing is you got to understand it through the mind of a predator and see it through the eyes and the mind of a predator. We got to quit this dicking around with this thing. You know why kids kill? Why kids are able to go under the radar for 10 years and then just one day wake up and say, I'm going to go somewhere and kill so many children, blah, blah, blah. All these children, I'm just going to wipe in and just smother their lives out, blah, blah, blah. And then we all sit around afterward, blah, 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 trying to figure it out. And we can't figure it out. You know why? You know why we can't figure it out? It's because we won't look at it through the eyes of the lion. We're trying to look at it through the eyes of the gazelle. And that's not going to happen until you see it through the eyes of the predator and understand. You know why these children are killing and doing what they're doing and able to do what they're doing? Because they can. America, we don't believe. We don't believe that there are killers out there. We don't believe that these children, it's like Columbine and Newtown are always going to be a world away. But here's the truth. They're at the end of your street. 12% of America lives with some form of mental dementia, mental illness. You're never going to corral all the insane people. You're never going to be able to gather up all the guns to stop this thing. The only way you're going to make any kind of dent in the fatality count, and the body count, and be able to lower the kill ratio is when you look at it through the eyes of a predator, when you see why these kids are doing what they're doing. These are just not afterthoughts of some bizarre video game that they're playing out in their mind. These are real agendas, real issues, real motives. These are final chapters, closing curtain. These are curtain calls for a lot of these kids. And here's the reason why. Not every one of them has been bullied. We try to stereotype these kids so that we can see the next one coming. And you know what? Here's the sad truth about it. Is that after every school shooting, we let the talking heads of the media lull us back into and I'm not bad-mouthing the media. Believe me when I tell you, they got their spot, but they're not experts. Most of them have never had to fight for their life in any kind of situation that involved standing there and fist fighting to stay alive. Nobody's ever, and I'm not saying that they all live in gated communities and their kids go to private schools, but If I want to find out how to have a successful marriage, I'm not going to talk to somebody who's had a bunch of divorces. I'm going to talk to somebody or somebody that has a lot of opinions or a lot of book smart. I'm going to talk to somebody that has been married for 55 years to the same woman, loving her, and that's what I'm going to listen to. So here's the thing. With these child killers, these children that pop up and start shooting the whole world up, and we sit back and we can't figure out, and then we get entered back into a lull through the media, and the media convinces us that, hey, everything's okay, everything's all right. The last shooter just shot himself, so that couldn't be farther from the truth. They are now, even now, moved amongst us in the subtlety that they're able to move in. Nobody can see any flags going up until the shooter steps on scene and does their dirty, because they don't understand that the mind of a child picks up seeds of violence all the way through its life. These violent acts that we're seeing, these absolute horrific, unimagined horrific acts that we're seeing, these are harvest of seeds, of many seeds of violence that have been placed into the hearts and the minds of these kids. These kids are fearless. They have no fear of God, no fear of retribution, no fear of loss or love. They have no fear at all. They're not always the last ones that were picked, or the ones that were beat on, or the ones that Uncle Tommy touched in the private parts. These kids aren't like that. These are kids that are well organized. These are guys that are methodical. These guys are able to execute a plan with SEAL team precision, and I hate to use that comparison. They're able to execute these plans with precision form and precision engineering. Because why? Because for years they have put this plan into effect in their mind. In their mind's eye, they have seen this plan of them walking into schools, unprotected schools, opening fire, stepping from room to room, putting the gun in kids' faces, and just doing the most unimagined, horrific act you could imagine a child could do to another child. And then we sit back and we wonder, and we can't figure out, almost 15 years after Columbine, and we still don't know. The only conclusions we've come to are these: that all of our opinions about Columbine, that none of them were accurate. How many times has the opinion been changed, and how many times has the reason been changed why Columbine took place? You know, the lion stalks the gazelle on the plains of the Serengeti for one purpose only. It has a need. It has an appetite. It is hungry. Children that kill, whether it's other children or whatever the case may be, people that kill out of a appetite, out of a insatiable hunger, a demonic, unfulfilled hunger within them. For some, it's a curtain call. They want to close this chapter out. For others, it's revenge. For others, it's a combination of a lot of things: abuse, neglect, lack of love, lack of caring, lack of whatever it was as a child that they felt they were deprived of. But the bottom line is that until we get to a point where we can recognize this and wholeheartedly believe that these kids, these killers, not just so much kids, but these killers are amongst us, until we get that in our thick skulls and really believe, we're not going to do nothing about it. The body count's going to continue to rise, and people are going to sit around wanting talking heads to figure it all out for us, letting other people figure it out. But here's what the plan is. Until you really actually believe that we're in danger as a nation, you won't do nothing about it. You just sit around until the next shooter pops up, and then you sit around listening to talking heads tell you why the little machine flipped out, why it flipped the script, why it went wrong. Get into the mind of a predator. I'll show you how and why a man would kill. Because these kids have had their lives hard pressed to the ground of an unfair life, and just smushed there.